welcome to this deep dive.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be looking at the case of Stephen McDaniel.
Okay.
And the murder of Lauren Giddings.
Yeah.
You sent me some research and some articles, and you seem to be interested in the psychology behind stalking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the role of digital forensics.
Mm-hmm.
And how someone seemingly normal can commit a horrific act.
It's fascinating and disturbing, but this case is a textbook example of how you can apply forensic psychology to really look at and try to analyze a criminal's actions, and we can actually kind of piece together his motives and his mindset just by looking at how he acted, not just the crime itself, but even online activity and interactions he had with Lauren before the murder even took place.
We have excerpts from a YouTube video that breaks down the case.
Oh, cool.
It's by JCS Criminal Psychology, and it includes interrogation footage.
Wow.
Which really gives you a look at what was going on in this guy's head.
That's really interesting.
So how about we start with that question of what forensic professionals look for when evaluating a stalking case?
The
video mentions 4 considerations.
Yeah, so in stalking cases, they look at the relationship between the stalker and the victim.
Okay.
The stalker's motivations, their psychological profile, and the victim's vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and in McDaniel's case, his digital footprint is very revealing.
Oh, it's incredibly revealing.
And it looks like his internet searches reveal a pattern of escalation.
They do.
So he spent an excessive amount of time looking at violent and torturous pornography. And it wasn't just viewing.
No.
He was searching for ways to commit sexual assault.
Yeah, that's right.
He even typed in phrases like, how to molest sleeping girl.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
That's scary.
So this is not just casual browsing.
Absolutely not.
What does that type of online behavior tell us about his psychology?
Well,
is this a pattern that's seen often in stalking cases?
One thing it points to is this concept of desensitization. When you are constantly exposed to extreme content online, particularly violent or sexually explicit material, you can become less sensitive to it over time. And it can lead to a very dangerous cycle where you need more and more extreme content to get the same level of arousal. And in some cases, that can spill over into real life.
Right. So basically, they lose touch with reality.
Yeah, it warps their sense of what is acceptable or normal.
So in McDaniel's case, this constant exposure to this type of content may have desensitized him to the point where he felt compelled to act out these fantasies in real life.
It's a possibility, and it's a disturbing one.
Yeah, it is.
But we have to consider it.
Okay.
When you look at his internet searches, they suggest a progression from fantasy to a desire to act.
Right.
And unfortunately, it seems like his neighbor Lauren Giddings became the target of these disturbing urges.
And this is where it gets interesting, because the video points out that Lauren didn't really fit the typical profile of a stalking victim.
Right.
She wasn't isolated or vulnerable in the way that we normally think.
Yeah.
She was very outgoing. She was well-liked, had a strong network of friends. So why was she a target?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, and that's what makes these cases so difficult.
Right.
There's this concept called perceptual naivety that might have played a role.
So break that down for me.
Okay.
What does that mean?
So perceptual naivety essentially means she may have been less attuned to subtle cues of danger or manipulation.
Okay, so you're saying it's like a lack of street smarts when recognizing predatory behavior.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
So Lauren, she rejected McDaniel's advances.
Okay.
But she wanted to remain friendly with him.
Oh, okay.
Which is a common reaction.
Sure, especially in close quarters like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But it seems she started to pick up on some unsettling vibes.
Yeah?
She told her friends she felt uneasy around him.
Oh.
And even mentioned feeling like someone had been in her apartment.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is really creepy.
That is really creepy.
Because guess what? The video reveals that McDaniel actually used a stolen master key to enter her apartment and film her.
What?
Without her knowledge.
Oh, my.
So that's a complete violation.
Yeah.
And a clear indication that his obsession with Lauren was going in a very bad direction.
And this is where it's just so sad.
Yeah.
Because she had that gut feeling that something was off.
She did.
But she didn't have concrete proof.
Yeah.
So imagine if she had acted on those feelings of unease. Could she have avoided becoming a victim?
It's impossible to know for sure.
Right.
But this case really does highlight the importance of trusting your gut.
Right.
She was picking up on subtle cues that something was not right.
Right.
But she might have dismissed them because there was no concrete proof.
Yeah.
It's so important to pay attention to those feelings of unease,
right,
even if they seem irrational at the time.
So scary that our instincts can be trying to tell us something.
They can.
And we just ignore them. So in Lauren's case,
yeah,
the story takes a very dark turn.
It does.
The video goes into graphic detail about the murder.
Okay.
So listener discretion is advised.
Yeah.
The evidence suggests that McDaniel snuck into Lauren's apartment while she was sleeping.
Oh my gosh.
And when she woke up,
yeah,
she panicked.
I would imagine so.
And he attacked her.
Right.
And strangled her for about 15 minutes.
Oh my.
But what's even more horrifying is that she fought back.
Oh, wow.
They found scratches on his face and chest,
okay,
which showed there was a violent struggle. But tragically, she was overpowered.
Yeah, it's so sad to think about her terror in those last moments.
Right.
And the murder itself is
Yeah.
bad enough. But then what he did afterward is even more gruesome.
It really is.
He dismembered her body in the bathtub using a hacksaw.
Oh, God.
And put the pieces in trash bags.
Oh, my God.
And disposed of them in different trash cans.
Oh, my God.
On campus.
So he took her life
Yeah.
and then went to such great lengths
Yeah.
to cover up the crime.
Absolutely.
And that is a whole other...
Calculated cruelty. It's just hard to comprehend.
So he gave an interview to local news.
He did.
Pretending to be concerned.
Oh, wow.
Offering information about Lauren.
So trying to control the narrative.
Classic example of a
Yeah.
criminal trying to deflect suspicion.
Exactly.
But in that interview,
Yeah,
there were cracks in his facade.
there were.
The video points out his behavior was suspicious,
Yeah.
especially his reaction when he learned that part of Lauren's remains had been found.
So he's trying to maintain this image of innocence.
Right,
Yeah.
while at the same time being confronted with the reality of his crime.
Oh, that's the tough.
I mean, psychologically, that must have been a lot.
Yeah. That's when the psychological chess match begins.
Well, yeah.
Because he's trying to outsmart the investigators, control his narrative,
Right.
project this image of innocence while grappling with what he's done.
It seems like everything he did, every word was calculated.
Yeah.
So what was going on beneath the surface?
That's the question.
What was his end game?
Yeah.
Did he really think he could get away with this?
These are the questions that forensic psychologists try to answer, and they use the interrogation to do that.
Yeah.
But before we get to that,
Okay.
I think it's worth looking at some of the other details of the investigation.
So let's talk about the bizarre items the police found in his apartment.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, swords, guns, a stockpile of supplies. Like he was preparing for some kind of doomsday scenario.
So that's interesting, isn't it?
It is.
What was he planning?
Right.
Was this part of some bigger fantasy?
Right.
Or was it a reflection of his need to control things?
Right.
And then, of course, the really bizarre discovery.
What's that?
A mask made of women's underwear.
What? Wait, a mask made of underwear.
Uh-huh.
What does that even tell us
I know.
about his psychological state?
Well, I mean, it's both disturbing
Yeah.
and perplexing.
Right.
Could be interpreted as a fetishistic element,
Okay.
a further indication of
Right.
kind of his warped perceptions of sexuality,
Yeah.
or it could be something else entirely. We don't have the answers,
Right.
but it's certainly a piece of the puzzle.
Well, this is all very unsettling.
Yeah.
It feels like peeling back layers of a disturbing onion.
It really does.
So what finally led to his arrest?
Okay, well, it wasn't the weapons
Okay.
or the stockpile
Right.
or even the weird mask.
What was it?
It was a pack of condoms.
Okay.
Remember, he'd been adamant about being a virgin
Yes.
during his initial interviews?
Right.
So they found the condoms, and of course it contradicted his story.
Yeah.
And he then claimed he'd stolen them from another apartment.
Okay.
Whether that's true or not
Right.
is debatable.
Okay.
But it gave the detectives probable cause to make an arrest.
Yeah.
And that's when the real chess match began, the
Yeah.
interrogation.
And this is where we're getting into the interrogation footage.
Yes.
Buckle up, because it's going to be intense.
It is.
We're going to see how McDaniel handles the pressure and how the investigators use psychology to try and get him to crack.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
So what stood out to you about the interrogation footage?
So right away, what's striking is his demeanor.
Okay.
In the video, he's described as robotic, monotone voice, lifeless expression, this really unsettling gaze
Okay.
that seems to stare right through the detectives.
Yeah.
It's as if he's detached himself from the situation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Psychologically, what's happening there?
I know, it's the million-dollar question, isn't it? So
Yeah.
is this a strategy or is it something else?
Is he being deliberate?
Yeah.
Or is he...
There are a few possibilities.
Okay.
He could be consciously trying to suppress his emotions, thinking if he doesn't react, he won't give anything away. Right. We see this in psychopathic personalities sometimes. Yeah. This emotional flatness that makes them hard to read. Right. But on the other hand, it could be a sign of dissociation, which is a coping mechanism that allows him to distance himself from the trauma.
Okay, so basically, he's created a mental barrier between himself and the reality of what's happening.
Exactly.
He's physically present.
Yeah.
But mentally, he's somewhere else.
Yeah, and that makes him very difficult to interrogate.
Right.
So in the video, you see the detectives trying all these different tactics.
Okay.
They start off with aggression, hoping to provoke a reaction, get him to slip up.
Right.
But it doesn't work. McDaniel remains very calm and sticks to his denials.
So then what do they try?
Then they try building rapport, appealing to his sense of empathy, even suggesting that he might have blacked out or doesn't fully remember what happened.
Wow.
But again, nothing.
He's giving them nothing.
It's very frustrating, I'm sure, for the detectives. They're trying everything, but they can't get through.
Do they ever break through that wall?
Well, there's this one point where they try something called the futility technique.
Okay.
It's where they try to convince the suspect that resistance is pointless. They've got all this evidence.
Okay, so they're making him feel like the game is up.
Yeah.
He might as well confess.
Yeah, that's the idea.
So did it work?
And in this case, they specifically mentioned blood in his apartment, implying that they have forensic evidence linking him to the murder.
So are they bluffing?
Well, they are, because the dismemberment didn't actually take place in his apartment.
Oh.
So they're hoping to shake him up. Get him to admit something. Anything that they can use against him.
But he doesn't budge.
He doesn't. He just keeps saying, I didn't do it.
So wait, they're using false evidence?
They are.
Is that even legal?
It's a controversial tactic, and its legality really varies depending on where you are and the specific circumstances.
Sure.
But the goal of an interrogation is to get a confession. And sometimes detectives use deception to try and achieve that.
But he didn't even flinch.
He didn't.
He just completely denied it.
Yeah, he just keeps denying.
It's almost like he knew they were lying.
I know, it's remarkable.
He must have nerves of steel.
Yeah, he's being accused of this brutal murder. Confronted with false evidence. And he doesn't break a sweat.
So what's going on in his head?
It's hard to say. But there's a possibility he's getting some kind of satisfaction out of outsmarting them.
Like he's playing a game and winning.
Yeah, exactly. He's playing the game and he's winning.
So what happens next?
Well, then they shift gears again. And they try this more sympathetic approach. Suggesting maybe something came over him, that he's not a monster. That he must feel some remorse for what he did.
Okay, so they're appealing to his humanity. Hoping to trigger an emotional response.
Exactly.
Does it work?
It doesn't. He shuts down any attempt at connection. He's just determined to maintain this emotional distance, this facade. And that's when the detectives get really frustrated. Their demeanor shifts. They become more aggressive or personal in their attacks. They belittle him. They mock his lack of friends. They bring up his family. Things that have nothing to do with the case.
So they're really starting to cross a line here?
It's hard to watch.
Yeah, it is.
Even knowing what he did, they're going too far. But regardless, it doesn't work. He doesn't budge. He just sticks to his denials.
So they tried all these different tactics.
They did.
Nothing is working.
No.
And then
what happens, his mother shows up at the police station.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How does that change the dynamic?
It's a fascinating turning point. Because while he maintains his innocence, the moment he sees his mother, that robotic persona melts away. He becomes animated.
Wow.
He engages with her in a way he didn't with the detectives. He shows some emotion, some vulnerability that just wasn't there before.
So you're saying he was putting on a show for the detectives?
It's possible. He chose to be detached and unemotional. But when his mother arrives, he has this genuine response. So was that planned? I know.
Or was it subconscious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Well, it really shows how much we can learn about psychology.
We can.
By just observing someone. In a high-pressure situation.
Absolutely.
But so the interrogation didn't lead to a confession?
No, it didn't
So how did the truth come out?
Well, the truth came out through the work of the investigators.
Okay.
Remember all that digital forensics?
Yeah.
Well, they found hundreds of pictures of Lauren on McDaniel's flash drive, including images taken inside her apartment without her knowledge.
So he was secretly filming her?
He was.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's so creepy.
It really shows the extent of his obsession and willingness to violate her privacy.
And that wasn't all.
That wasn't all.
What else?
They also found videos from inside her apartment suggesting he'd been stalking her for some time.
So this digital trail was not looking good for him.
It wasn't.
And the physical evidence backed it up.
Yeah, so they found a hacksaw with traces of Lauren's blood on it.
Oh, my.
Hidden in his supply closet.
Wow.
And they were able to link that back to McDaniel because they found packaging for the same type of hacksaw in his apartment.
So they had him?
They had him.
With the digital footprint and the physical evidence.
Yeah.
It was all there.
It was all there.
He couldn't explain it away.
No.
So faced with all this, with the possibility of the death penalty, he made a decision.
He did.
What was it?
He took a plea deal to avoid trial and a possible death sentence.
And what was the outcome of that?
Well, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Wow.
Yeah. So Lauren lost her life.
Yeah.
And McDaniel will spend the rest of his days in prison.
It really is a sobering reminder that sometimes the most terrifying people are hiding in plain sight, right under our noses, appearing normal, but with these dark fantasies.
That's right.
But it's also a testament to forensic science.
Absolutely.
And the investigators who are using every tool they can to bring these criminals to justice.
Absolutely. They're using both the traditional and the emerging digital methods to uncover the truth.
It's amazing how important digital forensics is becoming.
It is.
And it also underscores the need to understand the psychology of stalking and how these people operate.
They're very complex, and it's important to understand how they work.
I think our listeners have a lot to think about.
I think so, Ken.
After hearing all of this.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I want to go back to that phrase. Troll vortex of insanity.
Yeah.
What do you think he meant by that?
It's an interesting way to describe it.
Yeah.
Because it really captures that feeling of unease.
Right.
Like you're looking into this dark corner of the human psyche
right.
where reason just vanishes.
Right.
There's this cruelty to his actions that goes beyond the brutality of the murder.
Right.
It's the premeditation, the stalking, the violation of privacy, the way he was manipulating the situation.
He was playing games with people's lives.
Yeah.
As if he was deriving pleasure from it.
Yeah. And that's what's so unsettling about this case.
Yeah.
Because it forces us to confront that darkness.
Right.
That can exist within people.
Yeah.
You know, we like to think we can categorize people as good or bad.
Yeah, good and evil.
But the human psyche is much more complicated and unpredictable than that.
It really shows that evil can lurk anywhere.
It can.
But it also encourages us to be more vigilant.
It does.
To be more aware of the signs of danger.
Yeah.
And to trust our instincts when things feel wrong.
Absolutely.
This has been a heavy deep dive,
Yeah,
full of disturbing details and unsettling insights.
It has.
But it's been incredibly informative.
Yeah, it's important to understand this stuff.
Yeah.
To shed light on it.
So before we wrap up,
I
want to give our listeners a moment to reflect on everything we've discussed and think about what it means for their own lives. This idea of trusting your gut. Being aware of your surroundings, understanding that even seemingly ordinary individuals can be capable of extraordinary evil.
That's right.
And how this case serves as a cautionary tale about the potential dangers lurking in the digital world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the lasting impact of our online actions.
It's important to be mindful of what we do online.
So this has been a deep dive into a very disturbing case.
This is a disturbing case.
That forces us to confront the darker aspects of human nature.
It does.
But hopefully it's also empowered our listeners to be more aware and take steps to protect themselves.
Exactly.
Both online and offline.
Yeah, be vigilant.
So until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe.
Absolutely.
So we left off talking about the interrogation footage.
Yeah, we did.
And this is where we really see what McDaniel is made of, how he handles himself under pressure.
It's going to be.
And how the investigators try to use psychology to break him down.
Absolutely.
What really stood out to you in this footage?
Well, the thing that's really striking right off the bat is his demeanor.
Okay.
It's weird.
What do you mean?
Well, the video describes him as robotic.
Okay.
Like monotone voice.
Okay.
Almost lifeless expression.
Right.
And this really unsettling gaze.
Okay.
He just stares.
Right through them.
Yeah, like right through the detectives.
Wow.
It's as if he's completely detached.
So what's going on there psychologically? I mean, is that...
Yeah, is that a strategy? Is that deliberate?
Yeah.
Or is it something else?
Right. Is he choosing to be like that?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few possibilities.
Yeah.
One is that he's consciously suppressing his emotions.
Okay.
Maybe he thinks if he doesn't react, he won't give anything away.
So he's trying to control himself.
Yeah, like a poker face.
Okay.
We see this with psychopaths.
Right.
They have this emotional flatness that makes them difficult to read.
Interesting.
But it could also be a sign of dissociation.
What's that?
It's like a coping mechanism to distance himself from the trauma.
Right, so it's almost like he's not even there.
Yeah, he's created this mental barrier between himself and reality.
So how do you interrogate someone like that?
That's the hard part.
I bet.
The video shows the detectives trying everything.
Oh, like what?
Well, first they try aggression.
Okay.
They're hoping to provoke him.
Right, get a reaction.
Yeah, get him to slip up.
But it doesn't work.
It doesn't. He's calm.
Okay.
Collected.
Right.
Just keeps denying.
What do they try next?
Then they try to build rapport.
Okay.
Appealing to his empathy.
Right.
Even suggesting that he might have blacked out.
What?
Yeah, like he doesn't remember what happened.
Wow.
But still nothing.
He's not giving them anything?
No, it must have been infuriating.
Yeah.
Trying so hard.
Do they ever break through?
There's one point where they use this thing called the futility technique.
Okay, what's that?
So they basically try to convince him that it's pointless to resist.
Right.
Because they already have overwhelming evidence.
So they're making him feel like he's already caught.
Exactly.
Might as well come clean.
That's the idea.
So did it work?
Well, in this case,
okay,
they specifically talk about blood found in his apartment.
Oh.
Implying they have forensic evidence.
Okay.
Linking him to the murder.
But wait, the dismemberment didn't happen in his apartment.
It didn't.
So they're bluffing.
They are. They're totally bluffing.
Wow.
They're hoping to rattle him, make him confess.
Yeah.
Just say anything.
Anything incriminating.
Yeah, exactly.
And how does he react?
He doesn't flinch.
What?
Nope.
He just denies it.
Just keep saying, I didn't do it.
Oh, my gosh.
It's crazy.
I mean, they're using false evidence.
They are.
Is that even allowed?
It's a gray area. The legality varies depending on jurisdiction and the circumstances.
Sure.
But the goal is to get a confession.
Right.
And sometimes they use deception to achieve that.
So I guess sometimes you got to bend the rules a little bit.
I mean, it's controversial, but it happens.
But he didn't even react.
Nope.
I mean, he must have known they were lying.
It's possible he knew.
So what happens next?
Well, then the detectives try another approach.
Okay.
They go for a more sympathetic angle.
Okay.
Saying that maybe something just came over him.
Okay.
That he's not inherently bad.
Right.
That he must feel remorse.
So they're appealing to his humanity.
Exactly.
Maybe trying to trigger some emotion.
Hoping he'll break down.
Does it work?
Not at all.
Oh, wow.
He shuts down completely.
So they're failing on all fronts.
Yeah. And that's when they start to lose it.
What do you mean?
Their frustration shows. They get more aggressive, more personal.
What are they doing?
They start belittling him, mocking him for not having friends.
Oh, God.
They bring up his family.
Things that aren't even relevant.
Yeah.
It's really uncomfortable to watch.
It's like they're desperate.
It does seem that way.
But does anything change?
Well, something unexpected happens.
Okay, what is it?
His mother arrives.
His mother?
Yeah.
Wow. I bet that changed things.
It does. It's a turning point because he's still maintaining his innocence.
Right.
But when he sees his mother, that robotic persona melts away.
Wow.
He's suddenly animated.
Really?
Engaging with her.
Okay.
Showing emotion.
Oh, wow.
Vulnerability that we just haven't seen.
So it was all an act.
Yeah, it seems like he was putting on a performance.
Wow.
For the detectives.
He was choosing to be unemotional.
It seems that way.
But his mother brought out a genuine response.
It's fascinating.
I mean, how do you even control yourself like that?
It makes you wonder how much of it was calculated.
Right.
How much was subconscious.
Yeah. It's a really interesting question.
So the interrogation didn't lead to a confession.
It didn't.
So how did the truth come out?
Well, remember all that digital evidence?
Yeah.
They found hundreds of pictures of Lauren on McDaniel's computer.
Oh, gosh.
Including photos taken inside her apartment.
So he really was filming her.
He was.
Oh, my God. That's so disturbing.
It really shows the extent of his obsession.
And the violation of privacy.
Yeah, it's chilling.
And that's not all.
Nope. They also found videos.
Videos of her?
Yeah, from inside her apartment.
Oh, my God.
Showing he'd been stalking her.
So the digital trail was really damning.
It was.
And was there any physical evidence?
Yeah, they found a hacksaw.
Okay.
With traces of Lauren's blood.
Oh, my God.
Hidden in his supply closet.
Wow.
And they were able to link it to McDaniel because they found the packaging for the same type of hacksaw in his apartment.
So they had him.
He couldn't explain it away.
So what happened?
Well, faced with all this.
Yeah.
And the possibility of the death penalty.
Right.
McDaniel made a decision.
What did he do?
He took a plea deal.
Okay.
To avoid trial.
And a potential death sentence.
Exactly.
What was the outcome?
He was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Wow.
Yeah, a tragic end to a really disturbing story.
So Lauren lost her life.
She did.
And he's going to spend the rest of his life behind bars.
That's right.
It's a reminder that evil can hide in plain sight.
It can. It really can.
It's scary to think about.
Yeah, because you never know who you're dealing with.
But this also shows the power of forensic science.
Absolutely.
And the dedication of investigators.
Yeah, they used every tool they had.
Right.
To bring him to justice.
It's amazing how much digital forensics has changed things.
It really has.
And this case also highlights how important it is to understand the psychology of these stalkers.
It's a complex thing.
Yeah.
But we need to understand how they operate.
To protect ourselves.
Exactly.
We've been talking about stalking and digital forensics and how important it is to understand all that.
Absolutely.
But I think there's another thing.
Yeah.
This idea of the troll vortex of insanity.
Right.
It's unsettling.
It is.
What do you think it says about society?
Well, I think it shows how much the internet can affect us.
Okay.
We underestimate its power.
Yeah.
It can shape how we think and act.
And this case shows how easy it is to get lost online.
It's easy to fall down a rabbit hole
where
extreme content seems normal.
Yeah.
And you get desensitized.
So it's not just the content.
No.
It's how it changes you.
It warps your sense of what's okay.
Like poison.
Yeah, it's like a slow drip of poison
Right.
that contaminates everything.
So we need to be talking about this.
Absolutely.
The dangers online.
Yeah.
How to be safe.
We need critical thinking.
Right.
Healthy habits.
Being mindful of what we see.
Exactly.
And what we do online.
It all matters.
But I also keep thinking about Lauren.
Yeah.
She felt something was wrong, but didn't trust her gut.
It's a reminder for all of us
Yeah.
to listen to those feelings.
It's hard, though.
It is.
We ignore warning signs.
We don't want to be rude or paranoid.
We don't want to believe it.
No.
That someone we know could hurt us.
It's natural.
Yeah, we want to see the good.
Yeah. Give people the benefit of the doubt.
But this case shows
It does.
we have to trust those instincts.
When something feels wrong.
Even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's probably right.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
So what does it all mean?
I think the message is clear.
Okay.
Be vigilant online and offline.
Okay.
Pay attention.
To those gut feelings.
Yeah.
Don't ignore them.
Trust yourself.
And be mindful of what you do online.
Every click leaves a trace.
This has been a lot.
It has.
A disturbing case.
Yeah.
But important to learn from.
It forces us to look at the dark side.
Yeah.
But it also reminds us we have the power.
To protect ourselves.
And those we love.
So that's it for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Stay curious, everyone.
Yes.
Stay informed.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, stay safe.
Always.